It's the Rangers Journal night.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Transfer Show on this Wednesday club here at the Rangers Journal. No, it is not Sam Lammers in front of you. It is I, Ross Graham, and I'm your host for this evening. Thank you very much for joining us. We're going to be talking through all of the transfers that we've had so far and a lot of the rumours. There's been a fair few of them coming through even in the past few hours. So we'll do our best to get through them in the next 45 minutes to an hour. To help me try and get through them, I have got Doug with me. How are you, Dougie?
I'm good, not too bad, thanks. With all the former players getting linked with us next week, Sam Lammers couldn't do next on the list, so let's not tempt fate.
Yes, it could well happen. And Scott from Not Another Rangers podcast, how are you, pal? Thanks for joining us.
I'm not bad, Ross. I'm not bad, and I'm looking forward to this. The football season's getting closer, isn't it? And I'm looking forward to it because I've missed it, even though it's not been away that long. But you just want Rangers back, so I'm looking forward. I always enjoy talking about Rangers.
Yeah, of course. And as we go through this, people at home, please do put your thoughts and comments in the chat, and we'll do our best to address those. Scott, I just want to say as well, you said you went to the Club Bruges game. Did it scratch the itch that you've been needing to scratch?
I sat in the row myself. There's nobody else in my row for about 30 seats either side of me, but I just went alone. Nobody else was willing to go, but it did. I just enjoy being back at Ibrox and seeing Rangers play football. Listen, the first half was poor, we all know that. The second half is a lot better, and it's just one of the things, a friendly match, but I just went because Rangers were playing, to be honest with you, Ross. I didn't really think about the opposition, just because Rangers were playing, so I thought I'll just go along because I wanted to sit back in my seat again, but as usual, the people that sit next to me don't usually go to these things, so you're sitting yourself.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, I'm hearing that there's some more friendlies that are booked in. I think a few of them are behind closed doors, so we definitely need to get game ready ahead of a huge game against Panathinaikos. Before we get going, guys, I'll just give a quick shout out to our sponsor. That is offtothematchigo.co.uk. You can find them on Facebook and the other socials as well. There's some absolutely cracking. Oh, got a bit of a delay there.
Nice.
I think it's yours, Tam.
Oh, is it audio echo?
Yes, there was a slight echo coming through there. I've just muted you for the minute, mate. Might be worth just grabbing a headset or something if possible. Thank you. Yeah, so off to the match I go. They're our sponsors here at the Rangers Journal. They have some fantastic memorabilia and some great little knickknacks. If there's any birthdays or anything coming up, be sure to check those out. Go and use the code Journal10. You will get 10% off your order as well. So, as I mentioned before, we are going to be taking a look at the transfers. And what better place to start, Doug, than Nasser Jiga, who has today put pen to paper and signed a one-year loan deal with us at Ibrox. I'm hearing from a lot of the Wolves people on Twitter that he seems to be a real talent, but probably a little raw. What do you think he kind of brings to this Rangers team?
Yeah, I think he looks like a really interesting player. He's a big lad. He's a bit of a unit. And so I think he'll bring a lot of physicality and athleticism to the team. He's tall. If anyone's seen the training videos that are coming out as well, it looks like he's got pretty powerful legs on him as well. Yeah. So I think he'll bring a real strong physical presence to the back line. But I mean, he does seem to have good feet on him as well in terms of his passing and things like that. So it's not just about that, but I do think that's something that we'd be clearly looking to add. Quite a few of the lads we've been bringing in are big, tall guys. So I think you certainly got that for him. And the other thing I like as well that he brings that some of the other signings don't, despite also being younger, is he's played in European competition. He's played in a couple of different leagues and things as well in terms of different countries. So although he's young, in terms of age, he's got a good amount of experience of different types of football, different levels of football. So I think he'll bring some experience, for those sort of bigger games in Europe and things as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. And Scott, we've heard a lot about Russell Martin's kind of ethos, his approach to football, his very methodical style of play, and a lot of that dictates from passing the ball out from the back. So we need players that are comfortable with both feet. Do you think Giga is a step above probably what we've already got in that area?
It probably will be, though, considering Wolves paid £10 million for him. Obviously, they've seen something they think they can improve on and get him to play in the English Premiership. And you have to be a good player to even get bought for that type of money. But I think where he's came from, he's played in atmospheres like it's going to be a lot more. And that is up here, apart from maybe the Old Firm game, but he's played in big atmosphere. He's played in Europe, like Doug mentioned, and he's came from a physical league as well. So he's not going to come up here and think this is Scotland where you get physicality, people around that, you just get people trying to bounce off you. He'll be used to that because he's a big solid lad. And I only seen wee brief highlights on YouTube because I'm not really seen him play that much, but he looks comfortable coming out with the ball for the back. But even defenders, they don't have to be able to pass the ball 40, 50 yards. As long as they're comfortable with both feet, they can simple rule passes to midfielders or to the fullbacks, whatever, depending on how he wants to play. But I think it's a good signing for us. I think we needed somebody a bit more physicality than we've had, and somebody who can actually header the ball, because I think we've been missing that. And they've signed 2 centre backs who are, by all accounts, good in there, and that's what we've been missing.
Yeah, I think that's a really good call out there. Physicality, getting up in the air, winning those headers. I think I saw a stat that he won something like 86% of his aerial duels, which is a pretty wild stat to have. Tam, great to have you on the pod, mate. How are you?
Not too bad. Apologies for being a little late. I was having some technical issues, but here now.
You're here now, mate. You're here now. We're just talking through Nacer Giga, obviously signed today for a loan deal, one that's been in the pipeline for a while. It'd be good to get your thoughts, Tam, on kind of what that spells for maybe Robin Proper, Clinton Enciala. We know that Martin's been quite outspoken about that. What do you think this would potentially mean for those maybe fringe defenders that are in the setup currently?
I think with the fringe defenders, I think we'll see them both potentially leave the club. Clinton might be given a loan deal to go play his football, as Martin said he needed to do at this stage of his career. And Robin Proper has been in talks with 20, apparently. Obviously, nothing's been properly confirmed yet. But I personally don't see a future for either of them in our backline. Well, maybe Clinton as he gets a bit more experience, but Robin Proper definitely not. I'm not the biggest fan of him, and I don't think he's what we need.
Yeah. I think the own goal on his debut kind of set his stall out for the rest of the season, didn't it? Really, I think he kind of that was probably. I think we were all high hopes before that, and I think from then it was just a gradual decline. But some good points there. Okay, let's take a look at some of the rumours that are doing the rounds at the minute. We've touched on Connor Cody. So on previous pods, we've looked at Connor Cody. I guess, look, he's a very experienced player, right? He's someone that's been there. He's been playing at a very high level in the Premier League consistently. Doug, do you think by getting Giga in and Fernandez that are coming in, that potentially the Cody deal looks to be stalling? Or do you think there's still room for that experienced, well-versed, older defender to come in and sort of boss them around and be almost Russell Martin's sort of captain or vice captain on the pitch?
I still think there's room for it. Certainly, I mean, as I say, he's another very experienced player. Like you say, he's got a lot of really good leadership qualities. That being said, like you say, it does seem to have stalled a bit. We haven't really heard much about it over the kind of last week or so, when it kind of felt like it was on the edge of happening, and then it's just kind of gone quiet. And to be honest, if we do bring in maybe another young player that I could see as being okay centre back wise, I think it'll maybe depend on, obviously he played a back four in the friendly match that we've just played. He has played back fives in the past, or back threes in terms of centre back. So maybe he would want at least one or two more if he's going to do that with regularity, just to make sure there's the cover. But yeah, again, it'd be another player that comes in. One of the things I forgot to mention about Giga as well, he's also won titles in other leagues as well. So this is a guy who's won trophies, and I think he's got a Serbian Cup and at least one or two with someone else as well. So again, he's someone that could play beside Cody and be a very strong partnership. I think it'll be interesting to see where it leaves John Souttar as well, who's kind of in the last year felt like he was becoming our number one defender. He'd got himself on a good run of form and just a good run of availability as well. But he's only got a year left in his contract, so I don't know what they're thinking there. There was the talk, obviously, that he was in talks about a new contract, but then that stopped with the takeover coming, and we've not really heard anything about that since. So there's that for them to consider as well. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it hurts Conor Cody coming in. If he does come in, I would expect him to be a starter, to probably be the leader of the back line, because he will be on more money. And with his experience of things, I would expect that, if he's going to come in, he's going to come in to be a player. Obviously, some of these guys are younger, so some of the other guys, are younger, so maybe he's got more flexibility to rotate them. Whereas, as I say, I think Cody comes in and he'll be wanting to play week in, week out.
Yeah, I think he's at that stage of his career, isn't he, Doug, where it's just he wants to be playing football regularly, probably wants to sample a bit of Europe. So if he does come, I'm sure that'll be the lure. Scott, just going back to you being at the friendly there at Ibrox, has it played on Russell Martin's mind at all that in the second half, when he played Tavernier, and I don't want this to be the Tavernier show, but having played Tavernier in that centre-back position, he looks very accomplished. And we saw it last season, that he can actually do a really good role in that position. Do we think, and chat at home, it would be great to get your thoughts, do we think that James Tavernier could potentially be that sort of experienced centre-back, ball-playing defender who maybe doesn't have the sort of the sort of ropes tied to him that he would have at right back, having to track up and down all the time? Where's your head at with that?
I think Tav could do a job at centre back. I said that a while back because he'd done it a few times last season. I think he's more tuned on at centre back because I think he has to concentrate more. His levels are a lot higher, and I think he can read the game very well. Obviously, when he's at full back, he wants to push out the part and create and get involved and maybe get a chance, etc., which he's done all through his career. But I think now he's not got the legs to go up and down constantly. I think sitting in the back line, the right side, I think he can read the game better. His distribution is really good at times, and I think Tavernier's good in there. We all criticise him, but he's good in there. He does get up well and he wins a lot of headers. So I think that could be something Martin could do. To do it full time, I'm not sure, but I think he could go that way. I'm just going to say on Cody, I think the problem with Conor Cody is, and I think if Conor Cody came in, he'd be a fantastic signing. I think he's got everything you need. The centre back, and he's only 32. It's not old. People think he's old, but it's not old, especially a centre back. I think the thing is, he's playing in the Premiership, and there's teams coming up to the Premiership this season. 3 teams get promoted, and they're all looking for us. I mean, they're all looking for an experienced centre back who can offer him shares loads of money more than we can. And I know Europe might be a pool, but his family might be happy where he is in England. So that could be also say, well, if he can go to maybe one of the teams that got promoted or one of the lower teams in England, then I think in the bottom half of the Premiership, I think he'd happily stay there, just because family-wise doesn't have to move, and he's probably not going to lower his wages. So I think it'd be a great signing for us, but I think Cody at his age would probably look after more on the family side before he look elsewhere. So I don't think it will happen.
Yeah, fair enough. Definitely the Tavernier at centre back comment is splitting the opinions, as I thought it might in the chat. Tam, where's your head at with Tav, and I guess with Cody in there, right? I think this is one that's probably been dragging on the longest out of all of the rumours that we've had, and it doesn't seem to be speeding up at all. Where's your head at? Do you think we need a more experienced centre back to come in and lead the line?
I think we do. My ideal centre back pairing going into the first league game is Cody and Souttar. If Souttar's fit, but I think he will be. I'm not on the Tav at centre back train at all. Don't get me wrong, he looked all right on Sunday, but he's not as good defensively as he probably needs to be to play there week in, week out and play against top teams in the Champions League. So I think it's just a case of get somebody in that it's their natural position and help the younger ones come through.
Yeah, fair comment. Fair comment. I mean, let's see what happens for Tav throughout the season. I don't think he's going anywhere, so he'll be have to utilise somewhere. And it seems like Max Aarons is going to be first choice at right back. So let's see what pans out for the lad. Interesting comments coming in. Giga and Suter pairing. I could see that working. I could see Fernandez also getting probably a bit more game time than people thought. Love this comment here from Andy. Curry says Tav will be player of the season. I don't know if Curry's on or not. I think we'd probably hear from him by now if he was on. So maybe if he's watching this back, we'll get something sent to us in the mail. Look, let's move on to some more pressing rumours and links that we've had. I think the strongest one that we've seen, and it seems to be from reputable sources, is JD Gassama. So Sheffield Wednesday winger. So seems like we're starting to work from the back forwards, which is quite encouraging, getting some signings at the back and then slowly making our way forward. Doug, wingers, talk to me about them. It's been a tough few years for Rangers in wide positions, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, we've not really. I mean, the sort of repeated line we've had is we've not had a proper right winger since, or we hadn't since Candeas, and we hadn't really managed to fill the role until last season when we brought in Cherney, and you know, he was absolutely what we'd been crying out for. You know, a lot of people complained about him being one-dimensional, but at the end of the day, he scored goals, he set up goals, and he did it in high numbers. And not only that, but did it in big games as well. He had that little stutter at the beginning, but then he was scoring in all the big games after that as well. So, I mean, to this day, people have argued that I would quite happily go and pay 7-8 million to bring him back. But as I say, they have been looking at younger profiles, which obviously fits the overall transfer model. I do think we need to be getting these positions right more often than not in the future, and we need to be getting players that are more like Cherney and that are going to contribute, because that's been the issue. We had the problem, the two we've had recently, Cherney and Sima, obviously both were lone players that were that step above, but unfortunately that meant they came with a price tag that was a step above. And I think, to me, the way things panned out the year following Sima, it just very much seemed like had we got the Champions League that year, we might have been able to bring him in. It just, to me, it reeked of the Kent situation, because Kent just dragged on and on and on, and we didn't get him until that last minute when we got into Europe. And I feel like kind of Sima might have been the same. So, yeah, I think hopefully, obviously, they're meant to be very big on their numbers, the 49er guys. So I'm hoping that they're, picking out the gems that are in these leagues. I know a lot of people are a bit suspect about shopping in England, because we've had a lot of players that haven't worked out from there. We have also had a lot of players that have worked out from there, which I think is sometimes forgotten. But the thing that I like now is that we are seemingly shopping for that, as I say, that younger market, and also that slightly level below market. We seem to be looking a lot at League One as well as the Championship, which I think is encouraging, because that to me says we're looking to get these players before they kind of hit that, everybody knows who they are point, and suddenly they go up a couple of million. So trying to get them in that sort of 1 to 3 million point, because if we can get them in at those kind of prices, they play well, do get the kind of Cherney level of goals and contribute to us winning things, then that will be what then sees those prices go up, and then that kicks the model in gear. So I do like these players, and Gassama's one of them. Exciting winger. It seems like he's got a lot of raw talent. I've seen that. In fact, it might have even been you in the chat comparing him to Sakala. I was a big Sakala fan. He could be frustrating, but again, he got goals and assists. He would put the fear into defences. So if he's anything like Sakala, I'll be quite happy to see him in the door and causing havoc. And from the look of his profile as well, he can play right across the front, which again, useful to have players that can interchange, because I always feel if you've got players that can interchange with one another and move within fluidly between the positions, that's another way that you can confuse packed defences and get players running out of position and creating gaps.
Yeah. Look, Doug, I'm on the exact same page as you. I think it's interesting when you look back at the team that won the league for us in 21, and you see the players that were in that team, and you had players from Charlton, you had players from Burnley, you had players that had come from, lower league essentially lower league, but high potential, high talent players. And as you say, that they're reasonably low risk with that £1 to £3 million bracket, right? That it doesn't work out. Okay, fine. You probably recoup your money, worst case. But if it does work out, then here we go. You're clocking on some proper player trading material there. Tam, I'm just going to come to you on Gassama. He's 21. I'm not sure how old you are, but I can't imagine he's too far off your age. A young French lad, started at PSG. Was at Sheffield Wednesday, and Judge, I'm not sure if you've seen any of the stuff on Twitter that the Sheffield fans have been saying about him, but he looks like a real talent. Is this the sort of player you want to see us bringing in? This kind of young, high ceiling, high potential talent?
It is the sort of player I want to see us bringing in. With the comment you've just made about him being not too far off of my age, that just makes me put my life in perspective. They're out playing football for thousands of money a week, and I'm sitting here in my bed. But it's sort of the profiles we should be going for. We all know that we can develop players, so we should be buying. The ideal trading model is buy for cheap, sell for profit. And that's what could happen. I've not seen much of them, I'll be honest. But if PSG picked them up at a young age, that surely must mean something. Obviously went down and played in England, as you said as well. So people have seen something in them, and we've obviously got a good scouting team as well. They would have seen something in them. So I'm not the best to comment on it, but definitely is the sort of profiles we should be bringing in.
Yeah. And on that then, Scott, so Tam mentioned profile there. We're bringing in players who are untested, at a European level, whilst obviously playing PSG youth. I think that this, when you're playing in competitive men's Champions League or Europa League, whatever it will be, it could be a different level. Would you like to see us go for more experienced players like a Cherney, like those that have probably played in European competition, like those that have maybe won competitions in, say, Austria or Belgium or that sort of level? Or are you happy that we're looking at players like this that are maybe slightly risky, a bit raw, a bit rough around the edges, but huge potential in terms of ceiling and resale value?
I think you're going to have to probably take both. I think you're going to have to bring in some experience. You can't have a team full of young players. You're going to have some experience out the team. It's not getting any resale value. That's how we've been linked with guys like maybe Connor Cody if he came. But also you're going to have to go for guys like this. And I've seen a few wee bits. I watch a lot of English Championship football, so I've seen him a few times, and he is technically very good. He's very tricky. He's quick. Like Doug says, 2 feet. He runs about the park, left to right, right to left. He can create, he can score, but he is very raw. A lot of games he was in with Sheffield Wednesday weren't great last season. A lot of games they were losing quite badly, and he was a kind of highlight of the team. When he get the ball, the fans were excited because they didn't really have anybody like that. I mean, they're still raving about Barry Bannon, and he's about 74. Do you know that way? So it's, you have to look at it. Their fans, I didn't have a lot in that team they could rave about, but this young lad stood out because he did do stuff nobody else could. He did get them goals. He did win them games at times. He did get him up the field doing him defensively struggling. So he was their light. So coming to a club like Rangers, he's going to have a lot of better players around about him. But I think he has the talent, has the ability to shine and be part of the team. And every signing's a risk. Doesn't matter if they're experienced or not. Every signing's a risk. We've seen that before. Guys come to Rangers and they put a shirt on and they struggle. But I think this is the sort of guy like Doug mentioned and you've mentioned. If he came and done well for a season and a half, you've got English clubs that are going to come back up from me because they've seen him already at Sheffield Wednesday. And I'm thinking maybe they're just thinking just now we'll hang off because a lot of players in that market down in England. We like Meadozy and I really like him. At Southampton, and he's similar, but I would say he's a bit more experienced because he's played a bit more football. But if you can get him for that price, it's a no-brainer for me because we do need wingers. The wingers we've got aren't good enough, and even if he comes and he might take time to settle, that's fine with me because he's a young lad. But I think he's got the ability to click on and do really well. And I think he's got the ability in him that we can sell on again. But like I said earlier, no every player we sign is going to be a threat for trading, because that can't happen every player. It can happen with some, but not everybody. So I think everybody looks at the Rangers and thinks every player we link me have to have a player trading model. That doesn't happen. You can't have that in a football team. You can have some, but some you've got to sign them because you think I'm going to keep them for a few seasons. There's others you sign saying, right, if he does well for 6 months, probably going back to Bimsong when he came in, he was 6 months and he was away. Somebody like that, do you know what I mean? So, but I think it's a good name that we're looking at. And I like the English market a lot. A lot of folk don't, but there is players there. If you look at it properly, they've been bad in the past of bringing boys for up there. But if you look at it properly, there is young guys down there who are doing a job, and especially League One. League One's it's a very physical league compared to Championship. But I think if you can get someone up here, they'll be used to the SPL and they'll do really well. But the Championship's a good league as well.
Yeah, and it's very, very competitive, isn't it? You know, it's a really, really competitive league. Every team can be nicking points off the other one. So yeah, there's definitely talent down there. Doug, just on the kind of the winger piece. Clearly, we've got McCausland in at the minute, and we've got young Finlay Curtis, and we've got Oscar Cortez, and I think that those three, and Rabbi Matondo, you know, potentially if he's here or if he's, you know, actually available. Where do you think that leaves those players, Doug? Where do you think? And I want to include Oscar Cortez in that because I'm keen to get your thoughts on his future or potential future at Rangers. Where does it leave those players?
I mean, I think Cortez will get an opportunity. We'll say we've spent money on him, so I think we need to at least give him a chance so that we can attempt to either obviously get a player out of this, or if need be, he gets moved on in the future. So he needs to get an opportunity on that reason alone, and I think he will, because you know he's going to be there for the early days and some of the earlier games before maybe we do bring in some of these players. So I think he will get an opportunity. McCausland, unfortunately, I think over the course of the season just finished, McCausland's proven that he's maybe not quite at the level that we're going to need. He's been a good squad player. He had a really good 6 months when he first came in, but he's kind of hit a dip then, and the friendly was a little bit of I think sort of the story in 90 minutes, where he's got a lot of good endeavour. He's got really good effort. He's always in and about it. I really like seeing the effort and the try he puts in, but he just gets very little output from it. I go back to what I'm saying before. That's been our problem: wingers and midfielders that are not giving us enough output. He may well stick around though as a squad option, but he will. The more players that come in, the further down the pile, I think he'll start to drop. Matondo is so far away from anywhere at this stage. He just needs to be put out the door. Unfortunately, he's had his chances. He can be a decent player, and he could be a decent option again for the squad, but he's just not fit enough. He's another one of these players that we just can't rely on his physical fitness, so he needs to go for that reason. If he was fit all the time, then I'd be saying, yeah, he could be an excellent player, particularly coming off the bench with his speed against tiring defences. He could be a really good option. He does have the occasional worldie in him as well, as we know, for his goal against Celtic, which will be, I think, what he will be remembered for. And then as for Curtis, I do think Curtis will get hopefully some chances this season. He's looked really bright in the games that he's come on last year and this year. And I mean, his first game was against Man United at Old Trafford. Massive game for a young player to be coming into. And I thought he without sparkling, he acquitted himself really well. He's looked decent in the cameos he's had since, and then he was the best player on the park for me and the friendly for us by a good distance. He was the only one that got 90 minutes, so the manager presumably thought he was doing well as well. Topped off with a really good goal, and I've only seen him when he's been in the first team, but from what I've been told, he scores goals for fun at every other level. So if he's scoring 30, 40 goals at lower levels, that could easily translate into 15, 20 at first team level. And if he can play 15, 20 games and get 10, 20 goals, then that would be an excellent contribution as a squad player as well.
Yeah, completely agree, and rightly called out that, yeah, he was the only player to get 90 minutes. I think it was mentioned by a few people that he did very well in the bleep test. I think he's been working on his fitness, and we obviously wish him all the best, and hope that he makes that step up. Thank you everyone for putting your comments in. Some really good, stimulating comments coming in. I especially like this one from Harry John. I love Rangers. We all do. So thanks for that, John. You've hit the nail on the head there. Right, let's move on to a very, very juicy topic then, Tam. I'm not sure how old you were when he was first here, but the name Josh Windass has been doing the rounds today, and I think it's sent Twitter and a lot of Rangers fans into somewhat of a tiz. The guy has obviously left Rangers and moved on. He was one of that sort of Gerrard era, and has kind of ploughed himself a strong furrow of a career in the Championship. Tam, where's your stance with Josh Windass? Obviously, he has played here before. He knows the club, but he is 31, and he's probably said a few things since leaving Rangers that'll leave a bit of a bad taste in a few Rangers fans' mouths.
It's a difficult one. I think everyone's thinking we should move onwards and onwards and upwards, but sometimes going back is a good thing. There's a certain stat guy that I talk to quite a bit, and he's saying that Windass would be perfect for Russell Martin's system, or the way he played, at least on Sunday, and would probably contribute quite a few goals and assists into that as well. So it's a difficult one, but if he shows that he's still got the legs and can still play football, then I'd take him.
Yeah, interesting. Scott, where's your head at with Josh Windass?
Do you want the clean answer, Ross?
I want your honest answer, Scott. I want your honest answer.
The problem with Josh Windass is Josh Windass thinks he's better than he actually is. He's a decent footballer, but he's nowhere near the player he thinks he is. Listen, he done okay when he was here first time, and it was with a team that wasn't great to a point, but for coming back, no thanks. I wouldn't have him back. No chance. So that ship sailed years ago.
Yeah. Doug, look, we've lost sort of Tom Lawrence, Yanis Hadji, players that maybe aren't starters but can come on. And obviously, I'd put Arfield in that bracket probably a little before. Arfield was a level above those players, but someone that you'd bring on, a creative midfielder who can run beyond, happy to take a shot from distance, and usually contributes when they're on the field. For me, I think Josh Windass kind of falls in that bracket, but surely he'll want to come here and play games. Where's your head at with him?
I've got less of an opinion than most. When he played, it was around about the time I had a bit of a lull with Rangers, where we'd gone through this period, and Ali had been getting really hard bashings from a lot of fans, which Ali McCoy is the greatest human being that ever walked the earth, as far as I'm concerned. So I was having none of that. So I wasn't paying as much attention as I should have been during the time he was here. So I don't actually remember him all that well. I do remember the stories and things that went about, and sort of like Scott was saying, that he's got that bit of arrogance about him. Now that can work for you and against you, if you can back up, what you're saying there. Cristiano Ronaldo is probably one of the most arrogant people in the universe, but he's got the receipts to back it up when he talks about it. He had one really, really good season with us, and looking at what he's done since, he's had really good seasons with Sheffield Wednesday as well. He seems to kind of go one about, have a really hot streak, and then a quieter season, then a really hot streak. But again, he's a versatile player. He can play across the front. He'll be more experienced now. Is he older and wiser? You'd like to think so. I do think we do need to have some experienced players in there as well. I can't remember if it was again in our chat or the chat just now. Someone was talking about have we abandoned the transfer model? No, I think we do need to be looking at some older players as well. You have to have experience to help bring the younger players that you have in your squad through. So again, he's someone that's played a lot of football, has a lot of experience, so could add to that. So I mean, I've not really got strong feelings either way because I've not paid much attention to what he's done down south either, to be honest. But at the end of the day, if he's good enough and he can add something, then by all means, bring him in. He's got the profile for an older kind of player from the looks of it, and he's got the numbers. So to me, it looks like he could be a good purchase if, as I say, the sort of the horror stories that I've heard from his first time don't come back around again.
Yeah. And Doug, I'm just going to stick with you as we move forward. So look, there's plenty of rumours and plenty of links. The best place to get the full information on this is on the Rangers Journal Twitter page. We have sort of reports on all of these links, anyone and everyone that's been linked. So everyone from Tierno Ballo, who is a winger from Wolfsberger, Grady Diangana from West Brom, obviously JD Gassama, Aliou Fadera. And no, I am not just sort of reading the yellow pages here. These are actual players that we're linked with. They have all got profiles on our Twitter page, so go and check those out and let us know your thoughts on them. Tam, I'm keen to get your thoughts on our attacking options, our striking options at the minute. So we've heard Igaman is potentially there or thereabouts with Lille, hearing differing things these past few days. Maybe they're sort of keeping the cards close to the chest. Dessa's obviously linked with AEK Athens very strongly. Feel like they may well come in for him, albeit both players back in training now. Are you a bit nervous, Tam, that we're not really being linked with that many strikers, aside from sort of loose links to potentially Vardy and some early links to Dor Turgeman?
I'd be worried even if there was no offers for Igaman and Dessers that we're not getting like the strikers. Both have their own problems in my eyes. Desser's not consistent enough. Hamza not experienced enough. But it does just beg the question: why are we not doing that? Maybe what we've heard about sort of bids and stuff getting put in is just paper talk. Obviously, there wasn't confirmation that a bid was turned down for Dessers, but nothing to do with Hamza. So it might be the fact that that's what we're going with next season. Obviously, we've got Danilo as well there, who hopefully can stay injury free. But I'm hoping that we can get at least one in the door, and a Jamie Vardy, or not a Jamie Vardy, I'm saying it bold, would be exactly who I want.
That's the player that you've got in the scope, is it? That's the guy that's that you'd want to come in and fill that void. Interesting take. Doug, do you think, I mentioned earlier that it seemed as though we're starting to move from the back line further forward. Would you expect to see more of these links over the coming days once we probably secure a couple of wingers?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've still got the best part of 2 months, month and a half of transfer window to go. There's plenty of time for players to be linked in the grand scheme of things. Obviously, we want them to be in as early as possible because we've got early important games, but you can only get players when they're available to be gotten. And we're still early days in the window, and teams are still making their own moves and things like that. Players like Turgeman, their clubs don't want to let them go, so they're in no hurry for him to go anywhere. And I do think they will need to be kind of careful about what they do. We had that season where we were convinced Morelos was going out the door, so we bought 2 strikers, and then Morelos didn't go anywhere, and we ended up we had too many. So we need to avoid things like that happening. I think I'd be fine. Ultimately, I'd be kind of fine if we went into the season with the same strike force we had now. Ideally, I would like probably one added to that. But I don't think it would be the worst case scenario as long as we've significantly strengthened the rest of the team. If Dessers and Igman went next season and scored the same amount of goals, that's the best part of 40 goals you've got there between 2 strikers. So that that's probably fine for me. The big issue would be have the players behind them also added 10, 15 each, and maybe have the defensive players and the defenders are all added 5 goals each. I mean, it took us about 3/4 of the season for one of our centre backs to score a goal last year, and I think, obviously Tavernier aside, I think Proper might have been the top scoring defender. With he got 2. Jeffy got 1, which he didn't. He scored by accident. So we should be getting. We should be looking for at least 10 goals from our 2 centre backs from corners. When things are going well, Connor Goldson was really good at that. He always chipped in a couple of goals. So if we've got that kind of thing back, then that helps to support what has looked like a strike force that isn't good enough. But one of the reasons it's not been enough is because no one else is contributing. Yes, if Dessers has a bad day and takes 12 shots and only scores 1 goal, well, ideally your winger should have had a couple of chances and scored a goal, and your other winger should have had a couple of chances and scored a goal. We shouldn't be sitting there looking for everything to come from this one player. And so, if we do bring in those players, I think that makes a difference. But I do think there will be changes, though. Obviously, the club seem happy for Dessers to leave at the right price. So if that happens, go. And obviously, Eggman looks like he's been kind of signposted as the big sale for this season. So I think they'll probably work themselves out eventually. As I say, there's plenty of time for it to happen. And once they do, you'll probably start to see the movement then.
Yeah, interesting. And Scott, Doug made a really good point there. Well, more than one very good points, but one in particular. And that's about if you take out Dessers and you take out Iggerman, and Cherney's now not, within the sort of the setup as well, you're losing the guts of sort of 40, 50 goals there. How do you feel about bringing in a whole new front line that is expected to gel immediately? The first Old Firm is only I think it's in the first month. Well, it will be in the first month of the of the league starting again. How do you feel in terms of confidence-wise about bringing in that whole new front line? Danilo, essentially a new player, barely got any game time last season, and gelling and contributing that amount of goals.
It's a risk. It's a gamble because you're bringing in guys who don't know each other, don't know their teammates, and try to basically kick off a career at Rangers running, basically, because you need to get them to score straight away. Listen, we've all criticised Dessers. Everybody has, no matter who you are. But he has been consistent with his goals. No matter what you say about the guy, and I've said plenty, but he has been consistent putting the ball in it. And like Doug says, Iggerman was coming on. I think Iggerman's still raw in some ways, but he's got a lot of potential. I think his ceiling's so high, but it's up to him where it ends up, because I think he's the only one that can take it forward or whatever. But the club seem to be happy for both to leave, or maybe want him to leave. And I think the big issue is we need to bring in another striker, because I don't feel Danilo is going to do anything. I feel he's been here for over 2 years. I know he's been injured, but I don't see anything from him. I don't, and that's just my opinion. I might be totally wrong. He might score 30
I
goals
agree.
this season, but I don't see nothing there. So I think when you lose somebody like Dessers, yeah, a lot of people will be happy, but it's the goals he banged in. If that was a new striker man, he only hits half of that next season, will he get the same criticism? I don't know. I just think Dessers got a lot of criticism a lot of time he didn't deserve. A lot of times he did, because I gave it myself. Iggerman only played kind of half the season. I thought he'd done relatively well. It was only when Ferguson came in, they seemed to criticise him more for his work rate, but you can't get that with every player. Some players don't get a lot of work. They come alive and the ball goes to their feet. They don't go and chase it. They don't think that's just not their game. But offensively, he was good. Defensively, he wasn't chasing things. He wasn't doing things. But I think teams will see that potential, maybe pay money for him. So, but I do agree. I think we'll bring somebody in. I don't think it will be before the Panathinaikos game. I'm afraid I think it will be after, because a lot of teams out there are hanging on to players until they get replacements, or until they see who else is available. And as for Jamie Vardy, that's not happening for 2 reasons. He wants to play every week, and I don't think Russell Martin can guarantee him that. And 2, wages wise, probably 3 when you add in his missus, because I think she's a bit of a crackpot, but probably 3 to see does he want to come and live in Scotland. Is Scotland big enough for him and his family, because the media will follow him everywhere up here. You know that if he
Mm-hmm.
come up here, he'll be scrutinised like he's never been scrutinised before. And one missed chance or one poor game or loses against the other team across the city, he's going to get a power of abuse and can he handle that stuff. So I think if he gets a team in the English Premiership somewhere else, I think he'll take that up. And I think it's just media talk with Vardy myself. I think that was a lot. I think it just grew arms and legs.
Yeah. I think it's one of those that has just snowballed, and the more it's been said, the more people believe it. Tam, I'm with you though. I would like to see him up here, and probably for point 3 of what you said, Scott, which is that he is a crackpot. I mean, I'd love to see him smashing a corner flag at Parkhead. I think that would be quite
I
something.
just said it was his missus with the crackpot, no him.
All right, his miss was a crackpot, right? Fine, yeah. Okay, yeah, fair play. But yes, he is. He would definitely. He'd take the hype with him, and I think we'd all be quite excited to see him turn out in the royal blue for sure. I had one question. Look, we're not going to be too much longer, but I had one question that'd be just good to go around the panel. Tam, obviously, I think this is probably the most I've ever seen in terms of links with potential players during a summer window for us. Is there one player that hasn't been linked with us that you think would be able to do a job? And that could be from any league or anything. I know it's a very broad question, and apologies for putting you on the spot. I guess I'll kick off whilst you've got a second to think about it. For me, I think Lennon Miller, and that's just because I haven't really seen him be linked to anyone. But I think he would be that sort of very, almost a Josh Windass-esque player, in which he's very direct, very comfortable with the ball, confident player, potential future captain, and someone that I think, if you got the right price for, would have a huge ceiling above him. You got anyone in mind, Tam?
You've just stole my idea, so
Okay.
I'll go with my backup, and that's Lamine Yamal. Nah, I'm joking. No, I think Lennon Miller was my sort of was going to be the person. I've admired Lennon for a while. I've watched him at youth level as well. I've watched probably a bit too much of him. But he would have been at, obviously, Bojan Miovski, ex-Aberdeen striker. He's not been linked too much. There's been a little bit of talk about him, but not many people are jumping onto it. He's a proven goal scorer in the league, and I think he would do well for us.
Yeah, that's a really, really good one, and one that we haven't touched on tonight, but a really good input there. Doug, anyone on your radar that you'd like to see don the famous royal blue?
On some of the conversations we've had during the off-season, people were talking about bringing in another left back, and one that I fancied was Nicky Cadden at Hibs. He's an experienced player. He's 28. I think he would provide a good challenge for Jeffy, if not potentially take the jersey. He gets goals, he gets assists. He's quite attacking. He does tend to prefer to be a wing back rather than a full-on fullback. So I think, again, if we're going to play a back five, he would fit into that kind of system quite well. So yeah, he's kind of one that's come to my mind when we've been talking about left backs in particular.
Yeah, no, good call out again. Good experience in the league, and you need that depth as well. You need versatile players, and I think he fits that bill. Scott, anyone on your mind that we haven't had linked to us overtly, but maybe you think could do a job?
Mihajlo Ivanovic at Millwall, striker, centre forward, big Serbian. He only signed off for £2 million, but he's been banging a lot of goals last season. There's been a few other teams interested in him, and also Josh Brownhill get released by Burnley, but I think there's a few English Premiership teams interested in him. I've known Josh since he was a young boy, and he came through the lower leagues and worked his way up, and he's a superb player. I was just somebody just in case. I always thought if Nico Askin goes, I like him to come in because I think he's very similar, but he's more experienced.
Yeah, really good call out. Great insight, lads. Thank you for that. Firstly, thank you very much to the panel tonight. I think that we've gotten into some interesting conversations there. So thanks very much for that. It's been great being on with you. And for you at home, thank you very much for your comments. They've been really interesting. Some polar opposite views along the way, but that's what being a fan is about. Hey, if you haven't already, please do like and subscribe this. It goes a long way for us and really helps us out. We are all here just volunteering and shooting the stuff like any other Rangers fan. So thanks very much for joining us this evening. I think it's clear to see that we will have more incomings and more outgoings over the coming weeks. So we'll probably run another show like this next week, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more names on the list to talk through. Thank you for joining us, and like every other night, every night is the Rangers Journal night. Thank you. Good stuff, gents. Right, I need to go and get my dinner. Thank you very much for joining us, lads.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Cheers. Speak to you later.
Speak to you later. Bye now.
We're still live. We are still live. Shit. This isn't good.